The rain poured relentlessly over Washington, D.C. on the day the FBI finally closed in on the woman they had dubbed the Black Widow. After months of relentless pursuit, surveillance, and high-level coordination, the Bureau had her in custody. Cameras flashed and sirens blared as a convoy of black SUVs rolled through the gates of the FBI's Quantico headquarters, carrying the most elusive and dangerous fugitive the agency had hunted in years. Her real name was Alina Vega, but few used it anymore. Her face had haunted intelligence briefings for nearly a decade, connected to a string of high-profile assassinations, arms deals, and cybercrimes across 3 continents. She was known for her ability to vanish without a trace, leaving behind chaos, corpses, and encrypted messages that mocked her pursuers. Former CIA officials had called her a ghost. Now, for the first time, she was in handcuffs. The arrest had taken place in Miami after an undercover operation led by Special Agent Marcus Raines, a seasoned FBI operative known for his cold resolve and surgical precision. Posing as a wealthy European buyer for illegal weapons, Raines had lured Vega into a sting operation at a luxury yacht marina. The operation had nearly gone south when Vega, always one step ahead, discovered the wire on one of the agents. But a well-timed drone strike from above, non-lethal and precisely calculated, disabled her escape route. Despite her attempts to flee, Vega was caught after a brief but violent struggle. She injured 2 agents, breaking one's wrist and nearly disarming the other before being subdued with a taser. She never screamed, never pleaded, just stared coldly into the camera as agents dragged her to a waiting armored vehicle. News broke within minutes. FBI captures notorious criminal mastermind Alina Vega, blared the CNN banner. The Black Widow is finally caught, echoed Fox News. Across the country, law enforcement agencies celebrated what seemed like the climax of a long and grueling chapter in modern criminal history. Director Emily Torres, the first woman to lead the FBI, addressed the nation with calm authority. "This arrest," she said, "is a testament to the tireless work of our agents, analysts, and international partners." No one is above the law. Social media erupted. Hashtags like #Black Widow caught and #FBI victory trended within hours. Documentaries were already being planned. Experts speculated on Vega's potential sentence, her likely accomplices, and what secrets she might reveal. The world wanted answers, and vengeance inside the FBI's high-security detention center. Vega was placed under 24-hour surveillance. No visitors, no communication. A hand-picked team of agents rotated shifts to monitor her behavior. Yet despite the efforts to secure her, there was unease in the air, an unspoken tension among even the most seasoned law enforcement officers. Special Agent Raines remained quiet. His team had celebrated the capture, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Vega had let herself get caught too easily. There was no last-minute escape plan, no encrypted message to her network, no backup team to storm the marina. She had fought, yes, but not to kill, not to win. It was as if she'd wanted to be captured. Raines knew her too well. This was a woman who once erased every trace of her existence in under 2 minutes, when cornered by Interpol in Berlin. She didn't make mistakes. She didn't get caught, unless she wanted to. As rain continued to beat against the windows of the FBI command center, Vega sat in her cell, smiling faintly to herself. The world thought it had won, but for her, this was only the beginning. 3 days after her arrest, Alina Vega was scheduled for transfer from the FBI's Quantico detention facility to a federal black site outside of Denver, an undisclosed location where high-value detainees were interrogated under top-level security protocols. On paper, the operation was airtight. A convoy of 5 armored vehicles, aerial surveillance, armed escorts, and encrypted communication lines. Every detail had been planned with precision. What no one anticipated was how deeply Vega had already infiltrated the system. The transfer began at 4 a.m. under cover of darkness. Vega was shackled at the wrists, ankles, and waist, wearing a reinforced transport vest designed to limit mobility. 2 agents flanked her inside the central vehicle, Special Agent Rains insisted on being one of them. He still couldn't shake the suspicion that Vega's capture had been part of a bigger plan. He kept his eyes on her constantly. She, as always, wore a calm, unreadable expression. The convoy moved through back roads, avoiding major highways to minimize exposure. Drones tracked the route overhead. Communication was limited to a secure, isolated frequency. For 30 minutes, the operation proceeded flawlessly. Then, just outside of Roanoke, Virginia, everything unraveled. Without warning, the lead vehicle's engine exploded. A fireball erupted, knocking back the surrounding vehicles and blinding the drivers. The convoy screeched to a halt. Smoke poured into the air, and for a split second, there was silence. Then came the gunfire. Masked assailants in tactical gear emerged from the surrounding forest, moving with brutal efficiency. They carried suppressed weapons and used smoke grenades to obscure vision and disrupt signals. Within minutes, they had disabled communications and overwhelmed the outer guards. One vehicle was hit with an EMP device, knocking out all electronics. The attackers knew the convoy's route, timing, formation, even the radio encryption. Inside the central vehicle, chaos broke out. Rains drew his weapon as the driver shouted into a dead comms unit. Vega leaned forward slightly, her cuffs glinting in the red emergency lights. Then, shockingly, her shackles clicked open. A low beep echoed. Her vest had been remotely deactivated. "Drop it," she said quietly to the agent beside Rains, revealing a small blade she'd hidden beneath her tongue for over 72 hours. The agent hesitated, then raised his weapon. He wasn't with the FBI. He had been embedded in the Bureau for months, part of Vega's long-laid plan. Rains realized it too late. A brief scuffle broke out. Rains managed to shoot the imposter in the leg, but not before Vega slipped out the door and into the smoke. From above, the drone footage, now partially restored, captured her vanishing into the forest, surrounded by hostiles who provided cover and extraction. By the time reinforcements arrived, the scene was devastation. 2 agents were dead, 3 others were wounded. The attackers had vanished, leaving behind only burned vehicles and scrambled surveillance. Vega was gone. News of the escape broke within the hour. What had been a national victory turned into a public relations disaster. Accusations of internal sabotage rippled through the FBI. How had she gotten access to codes? How had a double agent infiltrated a high-security detail? And most disturbingly, how long had she been planning this? Director Torres called for a full-scale internal investigation. Rains, devastated and furious, submitted himself for questioning, insisting that Vega's entire capture had been a setup. She wanted to be inside, he told investigators. She needed access to us, to our systems, to our weaknesses. She played us. The manhunt resumed, this time under even more intense scrutiny. Vega was no longer just a fugitive. She was a symbol of everything the FBI had failed to see coming. And somewhere, far from the smoke and sirens, Alina Vega watched the news from a safe house. She poured herself a glass of wine, her fingers already typing on a laptop, connected to a stolen FBI server. Phase 2 had begun. The escape of Alina Vega sent shockwaves through every level of government. What had once been hailed as a landmark victory now stood as a symbol of devastating failure. Within hours of her breakout, headlines flipped. FBI compromised? Black Widow outmaneuvers nation's top agency terror in transit. How did Vega escape? The FBI found itself under siege. Not from Vega this time, but from the public, the media, and its own crumbling trust. Director Emily Torres, visibly shaken during her press conference, addressed the nation with a tight voice and tired eyes. This agency will stop at nothing to apprehend Alina Vega. We will pursue every lead, question every assumption, and hold accountable anyone who enabled this betrayal. Inside FBI headquarters, the fallout was immediate and severe. An internal affairs task force was assembled overnight. Security clearances were frozen. Every member of Vega's transport detail was interrogated. Digital forensics teams scoured communications for signs of tampering or leaks. The shocking truth emerged fast. A mole had been operating inside the Bureau for over a year, feeding Vega's network information from the heart of their operations. The man, Special Agent Peter Dyer, had an unblemished record, a young family, and a commendation for service. No one had suspected him. Yet, in his files were encrypted messages, offshore wire transfers, and a connection to a Venezuelan shell company known to be a front for Vega's syndicate. He had been turned, likely through blackmail or money, or both. His betrayal confirmed the worst. Vega's reach went far deeper than anyone imagined. She hadn't just planned a breakout, she had weaponized trust itself. Meanwhile, the manhunt launched with overwhelming force. Every major agency, from Homeland Security to Interpol, was put on alert. Airports, train stations, and border crossings implemented enhanced protocols. Her image was broadcast on every screen, her name added back to the FBI's most wanted list, this time at the very top. A $5 million reward was posted for information leading to her capture, but Vega wasn't hiding. She was moving in Chicago. A local news affiliate's system was hacked. During a live broadcast, a brief clip aired showing Vega in a dark room seated at a table. She smiled into the camera. "To the FBI," she said, her voice calm and chilling. "Thank you for the ride. You gave me everything I needed. Now I'll show you what I can do with it." Panic rippled through Washington. The clip contained metadata that traced back to the FBI's internal network. She had left a message using their own tools, their own infrastructure. It wasn't just a taunt. It was proof that she was inside their systems, watching them. Agent Marcus Raines, now reinstated and working under direct authority from Director Torres, was placed in charge of a specialized task force, Project Spectre. Made up of elite agents, cybercrime experts, and intelligence analysts, the team was tasked with tracking Vega through unconventional means. No bureaucratic red tape. No assumptions. Raines operated from a secure facility outside Quantico. Maps, photos, and red thread connections filled the walls. He knew Vega better than anyone. He understood her psychology, her patterns, her taste for theatrical vengeance. "She doesn't just run," he told his team. "She builds, she plots, she dismantles from the inside." Clues began to emerge. A string of digital breaches across private defense firms, a break-in at a biotech lab in San Diego, a missing journalist in New York who'd once investigated Vega's network. Each incident pointed to something larger. Something Vega was building behind the scenes. Raines stood before the map, eyes narrowing on the web of chaos unfolding. "She's not done," he muttered. "She's just getting started." And somewhere, in the shadows of the digital world, Alina Vega watched them scramble. Precisely as she intended,